Sometimes you look back on a show and wonder, how the f did this get made? That's exactly the question that I had when looking at 2018's Insatiable. In case you aren't aware of the backstory of this show, this is a 2018 dark comedy series made by Netflix. The pilot was actually ordered by the CW first, but was then passed along to Netflix to pick up the series. Created by Lauren Gussis, who is known for her work writing Dexter, starring Debbie Ryan, Dallas Roberts, and Alyssa Milano. Premiered on Netflix on August 10th, 2018, and lasted a total of 2 seasons before it got canceled. And is actually based off of Jeff Chu's article, The Pageant King of Alabama, which was published back in July of 2014 in the New York Times Magazine. Now, this show... what I really want to do is take you through a journey of the backlash that this show received, go through what I consider the positives and what I believe was a large misrepresentation of the show due to the marketing and the good, the bad, and the ugly that the show was. Ooh, was it ugly? Ooh, it was ugly. Before it even premiered, it got large amounts of backlash and even a over 200,000 signed petition to get rid of this show before it even premiered, simply because of the marketing. And when I say the marketing, oh my god, the trailer to this show just did not do it justice.
It smells like bacon.
The trailer to this show, I remember just being stunned, and the only thing people were really talking about was Debbie Ryan wearing a fat suit. Which is unfortunate because, again, the show, I do believe, is so much more than just Debbie Ryan in a fat suit. When people saw this, automatically triggering, automatically offended, insulting. And honestly, I don't blame people for getting triggered by seeing that. I don't blame them. To be fair, in this day and age of 2018, for modern times, that is something very bold, very outlandish, very out there. This is post the Shallow Hal era, and a lot of people have issue when it comes to a thin actress donning a fat suit. You have this girl in this fat suit, and it's just like, what the hell? What the actual damn hell? Last time I saw someone doing that was Eddie Murphy in Orbit. I myself was side-eyeing that. To me, it is pretty crazy that this was part of their marketing campaign, and again, it was basically the only thing people were talking about, unfortunately. Here you have it in the trailer that this girl who used to be a certain weight loses a bunch of that weight and then automatically is popular and trying to get out revenge and things like that. So it's very misguided because the show is so much more than what the trailer makes it out to be. The creator, Lauren Gussis, actually had to issue a statement after all of the controversy to basically beg people to give her show a chance. Please give my show a chance. Lauren herself, with her PR tours, said the trailer is not representative of the show as a whole, but it is a representation of where the story starts. He then goes on to saying the story is not somebody gets thin, becomes happy, and gets everything she wants. It's actually quite the opposite, but the story has to start somewhere. I would argue that that still isn't that fair of a representation of where it even starts. She then goes on to explain even more. Yes, there are scenes of Patty slow-mo striding down a hallway, but in the series itself, they are explicitly a fantasy. Juxtaposed against the disappointing reality of life after being handed what you thought was the only missing piece of your existential puzzle. Within the first 6 minutes of the premiere, Patty is skinny, the result of a freak incident, and the fat suit Ryan wears is thankfully gone. And she admits to having her own struggles with binge eating since the age of 12. So it is a very personal story to her. She does go on to saying, if only I looked this way or did this thing, I would be a popular 17-year-old girl, but the more attention I put on dieting or exercise, the less attention I put on my inside. Then I got angrier and angrier, and I didn't understand why. She does explain the main theme of the first season of the show anyways very, very well, into basically saying that just because you're outside is looking a certain way does not necessarily mean that on the inside you're good. And essentially, losing weight, being really thin, is not everything. I do have to agree that a lot of that does come through with this season. It is way more than what the trailer made it out to be. Despite the backlash, despite everything, the show did premiere, and it premiered, and it was very interesting. It's a show. It is a show. If I could compare it, I don't really think I could compare it to anything. It is quite its own female rage story. You know, not like Yellow Jackets female rage, but very just unhinged, chaotic, unserious, but still kind of serious rage. Imagine a shit burger, but it actually tasting really good.
Huh?
That's how I would explain this show. What is like something that's shit? Imagine ramen with gravy. I don't know. Imagine that combo, but it tasting so fucking good, right? No, or like fries with cheese. No, that's normal. No, fries with ice cream. That is this show. Moreover, what is this show even about? Intro to episode 1. Basically, the story consists of Patty, who is deemed the nickname Fatty Patty. She is constantly bullied at school for her weight, and the show does not shy away from this. The show does not shy away from saying the word fat. If that alone is triggering to you, if that word alone is triggering to you, then like I have to say, this show is not for you. Shedding a spotlight on that shit. It's real. Imagine your high school bully, but 10 times worse. Imagine Blair Waldorf bullying, but on crack. They do not shy away. They do not shy away. Like, Blair Waldorf herself did not seep to these levels. Like, the way these people fat shame her is actually insane. And it is uncomfortable to watch, but I will give the show praise in the sense that, unfortunately, that is some people's sad reality. And I do commend the show for not shying away from that, because yes, some people do go through that on a day-to-day basis, and it's horrible. That's the world. Like, it is very cruel. Anyway, I already went off on my tangent. We are introed to her getting bullied and harassed for her weight. She then, one night, is trying to eat, I believe it's supposed to be a chocolate bar, but it's some treat, outside of a gas station, and this homeless guy makes fun of her and says,
It's not like you need it, fatty.
so what does she do? She punches the guy in the face. And then what does he do? He punches her back in the face.
Crazy.
Lord, he don't give a fuck. He don't give a fuck if she's a teenager or a girl. Boom, boom, boom. Homeless representation in the show. Maybe that's an issue. After 3 months in the hospital, because of the way he hit her, I guess her mouth had to be wired shut for the entire 3 months, so she was only getting liquid food, and she loses weight. Intro to Bob, who is a civil rights lawyer, but also secret, or I guess not so secret, but also passionate pageant coach. And can I just say, he is absolutely fabulous. I love the man who plays him. I love him. He plays this guy so amazingly well, it's insane. He, unfortunately, has an incident with his former protege that he was coaching for a pageant and her mom. When she loses the pageant fair and square, the mom blames Bob for his coaching, and he's just like, well, it's not my fault. Your daughter's shit. She starts threatening him, and he's just like, yeah, try me, bitch. So she's like, bet. Goes up on the stage and announces to the world that this man inappropriately hahoodled her 16-year-old daughter.
He touched her.
What? No.
Imagine that. She says this with her chest standing on business. This incident ruins his pageant career and lawyer career, because nobody looks at him right after this. Everybody judges him, which honestly, yeah, like if someone is accused of that, yeah, yeah, you're gonna be looked at funny. Yes, I'm gonna walk on the other side of the road. I would willingly get hit by a car just to avoid your ass. It is untrue. The guy's actually a nice guy. He's a very charming civil man, but yes, this nasty bitch, this pressed bitch, this Dolly Parton wannabe bitch. Everybody has southern accents in this show, by the way, and it's amazing. He is funny enough. Again, this show edges between being serious and unserious. The homeless man is suing Patty. With what money? He's trying to sue Patty for punching him in the face, and Patty needs a lawyer to represent her, and for whatever the reason, they have to go to Bob for this. I think it's a money issue. I think because he would do it for cheap or for free, something like that. So I think that's why. He represents her. They win the case. However, Patty realizes she has this incessive rage in her, and wants to take revenge on all of those who wronged her, including this homeless guy.
I want revenge against anyone.
The best revenge is a life well lived.
Bob, in turn, also sees an opportunity in Patty because she's glowing, she's fierce, whatever, that he could potentially return to pageants and coach her to run for pageants. That's where the story takes off. I do want to talk about overall in season 1 first, the messaging that was season 1, the things that it did right, and the real core theme and value of season 1. I will say that in terms of the theme of bullying, in terms of the theme of feeling comfortable in your own skin, it is huge. They do this extremely well, I would say. I think they do a good job of making you understand as the audience what they are trying to say by saying verbatim what they're trying to say, but also with other situations that Patty goes through and her own internal monologues and thought and people that she's introduced to along the way, her trauma, how things have affected her in her life for her getting to the way she was, to who she is now, and her figuring out who she is now. It's all done, I would say, very well. The first thing I do want to go over is the bullying and Patty's trauma. And they really showcase in episode 2. They start off by showing this traumatic incident with a donut. Poor Patty, she was just trying to eat a donut, and this girl comes up to her and is very, very nasty.
Maybe your body will start eating itself.
And this episode continues with all of this bullying and all of the flashbacks that she's getting, and you can see how it emotionally affects her and how she still thinks it's a part of her. By the end of the episode too, she realizes, maybe being skinny isn't magic. Maybe being skinny isn't the solution to all of my problems, because for episode 1 and most of this episode, Patty believes that now that she's lost the weight, everything's amazing. Her life's changed. Her life's going to be so much better now. So that stays with her until the very end of the episode. She realizes that, okay, maybe actually that's not it. Maybe just because I lost the weight doesn't mean all my problems are solved.
I might be skinny on the outside, but on the inside, I'm still fatty Patty.
That was really good. We also seep into her traumas with her mom and how her mom was just never really around when she was young, and for basically her whole life, actually. She's just never really around, and basically, I don't want to say deadbeat mom, but basically a deadbeat mom. It's pretty sad because that, she admits, has affected her greatly, has affected her binge eating. She says, you were never around, so I needed something to fill the gap, which was food. At first, her mom was crazy to me. At first, her mom, I was like, that is wild. Patty literally tells her how she's never really been there for her and how f***ed up she's made her. And what does the mom do? She enters a mother-daughter pageant just to spite her daughter with her daughter's best friend. Who's the adult here? What the hell? I was gagged. But she does come around by the end of the episode and does apologize and realizes the errors to her ways and said she was jealous of her own daughter, which is also wild. That was crazy. Episode 5 stuck with me a lot and was personally one of my favorites of the whole series. Episode 5 has Patty doing a bikini car wash, and I really loved it personally because this really does showcase that Patty still has this. She has a lot of mental work to do for herself. She cannot don a bikini. And it is a very impactful, emotional episode because even with just trying it on, she clamps up. She can't even get out and show her best friend because she's that insecure in her own skin. Again, even with losing all of that weight, she still feels like she's not good enough, which is crazy. And then actually get to the car wash, and she still cannot just wear the bikini in front of everybody. She can't do it. And she makes a comment to the other girls who are doing it. She's just like, man, I can't imagine. I wish that I could be that comfortable in my own skin. All her thoughts in the first few episodes were like, yeah, all my problems are gone now that I lost a bunch of weight. But no, that's not the case. And yeah, this episode showcases it flawlessly. They then have this bathroom scene, which I really, really loved as well. She's there with a trans woman, and the trans woman explains to her, hey, I used to be a man. I transitioned, but there are days too, even myself.
I keep thinking there's going to be a day where I feel female enough.
It just goes to show, even with doing something you think is going to make you happy, which, yes, transitioning, I'm sure that was a huge cause of celebration for her, and she probably did feel happier, but there are still those parts in you that feel insecure inherently, that it's hard to get rid of, that it doesn't just immediately go away. And that's exactly what Patty's going through. She's used to being the weight that she was and getting bullied and harassed constantly and feeling uncomfortable in her own skin. So that isn't going to instantly go away with her losing the weight. It's just not. It is just such a powerful moment because she's just, picking at her skin, and she says, I just need to lose another 10 pounds. It's just that kind of mentality that's like, okay, when is it enough? Like when is it enough? Like, it's never going to be enough until you think it's enough. I loved that. I love that episode. I thought it was fantastic. We then go into more of Patty as a person and how she is as a person, and it's not great. As in, she is not great as a person. In the next few episodes, there are a lot of instances of either Patty being called out for being a certain way before, or her showcasing her still being kind of a shit human today, in today's day, that she has not changed from being a shit human. Get this lovely introduction to this new character who is plus size, acknowledges that she's plus size, and says, I love my body. I love myself. I know I'm fabulous. I'm entering the pageant, and I'm going to win over all y'all bitches. Which I'm like, pop off.
I like the way I look. That's why I do pageants. To show people that beauty comes in all shapes and sizes.
Absolutely ate down. And then later on, Patty's explaining to her how she stole someone's boyfriend, but it's okay because she's pretty or something like that. And then she turns to her and says,
Being skinny don't mean shit if you're ugly on the inside.
Verbatim. The message of this show. Really, a huge theme of the show is it doesn't matter what you look like on the outside if your insides suck. That is what is important. That is one of the first moments where it is very on the nose. They do say it out loud, word for word. This is our message. I do think it is good because with such a sensitive topic like this, I do feel like very straight up words like that are needed just so that your audience doesn't get confused. You get deeper into who she was before. Nani, who is her best friend, who is always there for her, calls her out that she is never there for her, and it wasn't just now since she's lost a lot of weight. It's ever since. It's been there for the entirety of their friendship. She's always been this way. So she calls her out for that. She's like,
even before you got skinny, all we ever talked about was you.
You're actually kind of selfish, Patty. You don't think of other people but yourself. And this does prove to be true time and time again in Patty's actions, in what she's thinking, and what she's doing. Because first, she hooks up with Brick, who is the guy who she's had a crush on for ages. She's happy for a minute. But then she gets attention from another hot dude. The issues, the dilemma. I'm just a girl after all. She gets attention for him for like 2 seconds and then automatically wants to jump ship. Doesn't even think of the other dude who's done so much for her. Wants their first time to be special. Like, he's just absurdly kind. His name's Brick, and honestly, he has the personality of one, but like, that's all he's needed for. Technically cheats on him because while they're together, she does make out with the other dude and then switches back, goes back to the guy, but then switches back again. By the end of the episode, she's just like, yeah, actually, I'm gonna dump you, and then goes to the other guy. And it's just things like that where it's like, obviously, yes, think for yourself, but maybe to an extent, because she didn't think about Magnolia, who was Brick's ex and who was helping her also for this charity event, and told her that she has feelings for this guy and wants to get him back. And then what does Patty do? She just makes out with him anyway. Which, again, I don't really fault her for this because he's the one that went in for the kiss, and you can't make people. Like, if he likes Patty, then he likes Patty. But she does think very for herself, though. Like, she doesn't really sympathize with people and has a hard time sympathizing with people. And especially for the first season, she does come around into realizing at times when she's at fault, which is good. And I do think, again, the show is really good at showing that mental struggle between Patty doing the right thing versus doing the selfish thing, her acknowledging that she's done something bad, but then still doing things that are bad. Like, it is quite a bit of a back and forth, but I do appreciate it because she is a messy character, and that is how people are. Honestly, people are messy. They're messy as we come to this point, okay? There's been this other plot line of Bob. Remember Bob? He's been helping her throughout this entire time, okay? Has been coaching her, has been making her feel better. Like, he really is just this really sweet fatherly figure to her. It gets to a point where they have to fix her image for her to continue running in the pageant because she pushed a girl off a wheelchair. I'm not kidding. So because of this, she has to make things right, and he comes up with this idea for a roast. And if people roast her, then she's kind of exonerated for this because it's just like, oh, okay, people are taking a piss out of you. You did this thing. Now people are going to roast you for it. And so then after they roast you and they'll feel better about it, then they'll forget that you did that. And I don't know, that kind of law. He says, just own your truth. Be brave, yada, yada. All the while, he is cheating on his wife with his enemy, who is a man, and it's his first man that he's ever been with, and hasn't been honest about that, which, obviously that is a whole situation, okay? That is something that I can't imagine as someone who is figuring out their sexuality at the age of 40 he's supposed to be at this point. That's a lot to go through. Doesn't mean you're exempt from cheating because he's cheating, and that's terrible. But it's a lot, understandably, okay? Understandably so. However, because Patty finds him making out with this man in secret, she then gets this rage to extract revenge on her coach, mentor, father figure, simply because he is not living his truth. Simply because he is not being fully honest and brave.
You would never be a fraud while telling me to be authentic?
This part pissed me right off. This part, I was like, you fucking bitch. What does Patty do? Patty literally outs him in front of everyone, including his wife, including his kid, including other random people from the town.
He's boning Bob Barnard.
She outs him. Her logic, honestly, did not make sense to me. I'm like, girl, that is not the same.
You made me listen to all of that ugliness telling me to be brave when you're a coward.
You pushing some bitch off a wheelchair and then getting roasted for it versus Bob trying to figure out his sexuality is not the same thing. Wild to me that was her logic, that he is not living his truth, and how dare he make her go through this embarrassing thing, even though she rightfully does deserve it because she literally pushed a bitch off a wheelchair in front of everyone. It's revealed that the bitch was lying and she can actually walk, but that's not the point. The point is, Patty cannot face her own actions and take accountability for her own actions without freaking blaming other people. Freaking blaming outside sources. So Bob then says to her face, and I love this moment,
I never should have thought because you were beautiful that your insides matched your outsides. Please, don't be the most you can be, because who you are is ugly.
baby, you might be beautiful on the outside, but whatever is going on inside of you is ugly. Mic drop. Pop the off, Bob. Also, very, very dark moment. By the end, though, when she does do all of this, when she does cause all of this damage to Bob, and he does pop off at her, tells her she's ugly on the inside, she does realize the damage that she has done. She acknowledges this. She starts feeling horrible about herself and resorts to this very, very dark, very, very tragic binge eating sequence where she stuffs her face with cake. It's very, very darkly filmed. Very, very, very brutally filmed. I do actually think that they should issue a trigger warning at the beginning of the episode, because I feel like that would trigger people. But oh my god, it's just silent. The way they film this is so powerful because it's just silent and it's just her eating. And it's just one shot. There's no cuts. There's no edits. It's just one shot of her eating the cake and stuffing herself with the cake. And even at the end of the episode, you just hear her chews. That's what you're left with when it cuts to black, and you just hear it as the credits roll. And it's very disturbing. Really got to me, and I do appreciate the team that decided to make such a bold move, because unfortunately that is the reality of some people. It is unfortunately what some people go through, and should not have to go through, and should absolutely get help. That sequence, it's just it got to me. The whole point of this being, Patty does a lot of stupid shit. And that is the main point of the show, is that, again, just because she has lost all this weight does not mean all her problems are solved. She has her own insecurity issues, which we explored with the bikini episode and earlier episodes. And in the later episodes, we start seeing her as an actual person, and her actually just being a shit person, and how being skinny and losing weight does not mean shit if you're still a shit person. That is really the main point of the later episodes. It's a little unserious in the sense that they do say that she ate her twin in the womb, and believe that that presence is still inside her, and because it's still inside her, that might be the evil that is within her. She eats paper. She eats paper to try and summon her demon. Yeah, in some parts of the show, just so unserious. But she tries to have an exorcism, and then it's realized that no, there is no demon. You are your own demon. You have your own demons, and I do like that. While the show has its goofy ass moments, I do appreciate how in the first season anyways, it would relay it back to a good wholesome message, which is, yes, you have your own demons that you have to work through. Overall, with the first season, there was great examples throughout for, the trauma, the bullying, her mom, how that all built up and caused her to essentially be the messed up person she is. So I do appreciate how the first season of this show really dives deep into those themes, into those topics extremely well, in my humble opinion. However, there are still some flaws to season 1. Some of them being Patty trying to sleep with a 40-year-old man for 4 episodes. Why did they do that? Why did they think that was a plot? I'm sorry, but no. There was a lot of tea and a lot of drama that I did love and live for throughout the season. Part of that being Patty causing issues in Bob's marriage because of her spitefulness. But I feel like she could have done that without wanting to sleep with Bob. Without having that intention. And we get this iconic line from the first episode, which is just disgusting.
He's a child molester.
Which means I might actually have a shot.
And I truly do believe that they did not need to have that plot line at all. It had no service to the story. It had no use to the story whatsoever. And then furthermore, to the weird adult children inappropriate relationships, Brick sleeps with Regina, the Dolly Parton wannabe, who's like 40. So that's disgusting. Absolutely gross. Thankfully, they don't continue the adult teenager theme in season 2. My other issue, which leads me into season 2. By the end of season 1, Patty is kidnapped. Before getting kidnapped, she actually was about to kidnap a fellow pageant contestant.
Hola.
Gets kidnapped by said pageant girl, same one with her mama. The mom is literally gonna kill her. And it's a great moment because she does find strength in herself. And I did find that really nice. The lady, she was making fun of her. She was making this whole story about, bringing back to Fatty Patty and that trauma. Patty realizes she's just like, that's someone else's words. That's someone else's view of me, but that's not me. And I don't have to claim that. I can write my own story. And I love that. Like, just because these people are saying something doesn't mean it's true. You know yourself. You know your worth. I really loved that moment. However, after she escapes, there's still that guy that she cheated on her initial boyfriend with, whose name is Christian. Towards the end of the season, he was shown to have darker tendencies and getting borderline stalker to full-on stalker. He ends up kidnapping another girl who is also her competition and said he's gonna kill her for her because it's getting rid of the competition and she needs to win, so he's gonna kill her. Girl, Magnolia, wakes up and the guy's just like, Patty, do it, we'll kill her together, do it, hit her with this crowbar, do it. And then on instinct, she hits him so that he's knocked out and tells Magnolia to run. She's just like, Magnolia, run. Magnolia runs, gets the out of there. Then she lets out her rage on Christian. Christian starts pecking away at her, saying how she's a bad person. Why would she do that? Because she's a bad person and she just needs to admit it to herself. And then she just goes off and starts hitting him. And hits him some more. And then hits him some more. Until he's tomato soup. And this is where the show, unfortunately, starts heading in a direction that I personally feel it shouldn't have. I wouldn't blame you if you are a fan of season 2 and liked this plotline in season 2. Like, I don't blame you because for entertainment purposes, it is entertaining. However, for this story, this is where I have issue because she has now killed a guy. She fully just killed Christian by the end of the season. And the end of the season ends with her calling Bob, and Bob helps her cover the murder. And we start off season 2 in that exact same spot. She believes she also killed Stella Rose, who's the woman who kidnapped her. But when they go back to look for the body, it's no longer there. So then at this point, at the beginning of season 2, I was honestly like, okay, I can still kind of buy this. She killed a guy, yes, that's terrible. However, if this is trauma and it does seep into this season and catches up to her, she repents for it, I don't know, something happens with it, then sure. However, season 2, okay? Season 2 is the season of murders. She killed Christian. That is one body. She then accidentally kills her potential father, who ends up actually not being her father, but was potentially her father. She accidentally kills him. So when that happened, I was like, okay, she's killed another one, I guess, but it's still, that one was like more of an accident, if anything. And then we take a deep dive off the deep end. Her mom has these drug mule guys from Brazil or something that they, like, apparently when she got her new boobs, she was carrying, anyway, it's not important. But these guys come, Patty comes in and ends up killing all 3 of them with her newfound Afro dancing skills. I'm so serious. Her newfound Afro dancing skills help her kill these dead, deceased, literally deceased. That's now a total of 5 technically that she has killed, and by the end of the season, she also kills Stella Rose, who ends up not being dead, but still tries to kill Patty anyways, and Patty kills her in self-defense, I guess. But at this point, I'm just like, girl, at this point, let the bodies hit the floor, let the bodies hit the floor, let the bodies hit the bodies. It was too much. At this point, I'm like, the show has truly lost sight as to what it is, because this ended up, in my opinion, taking up too much of the plot for season 2, and it is clear by the end of season 2 that is the intention, is to focus more on Patty being a killer, and I absolutely hate this. I thought it was stupid. Reason being, she's a Dexter girly. It makes sense with her background being a Dexter girly. This is very similar in the sense that technically she is killing people that are bad. Yes, but in the story you're trying to tell, this is where it truly starts losing the sense of its story and its focus. When I say that, all of the wonderful things that I said about season 1, I do believe season 1 was very strong. I think it was strong. Do I think it deserves a 10 out of 10? No, but I do think it was mainly positive. I do see a lot of positive to it. It did have its flaws, but at the end of the day, I hadn't seen a show like this tackle on such a dark, unfortunate topic. I haven't seen a show like that handles that topic. So for me, it was important for them to nail the tone, nail the theme, and nail its message. And it starts getting heavily lost in this season 2 because they made Patty a full-on killer. In the sense of this show, okay, and the main theme being Patty having an ED, okay, her trying to combat her insecurities, her trying to overcome her struggles and her selfish, vengeful nature. I think in terms of that, it just doesn't, it didn't feel like it had as much of a place for this story. For example, the show You. Spoilers for the show You, if you haven't seen it. By now, I think we all know what it's about, but in case you don't know from season 1 what it's about, I'm about to spoil season 1. You is about this man who is a stalker. Already off the bat, you have a character like Joe with psychopathic tendencies. So with his case, it makes sense to make him a killer, because I think it's fair to say most killers would have those psychopathic tendencies of stalking, locking people up. Everything that Joe shows in his qualities and his tendencies align with actual killers. However, in Patty's case, in this TV show, her having an ED, don't understand where that connection lies with killing. What are you trying to say? What are you saying now in your show? That you are showing this girl, this teenage girl, who will out you in front of the world for revenge. She does heinous acts, but normal heinous acts. She is just a girl. At the end of the day, she's a teenage girl with a lot of issues. You have to question yourself when you're focusing season 2 on her killing 6 people. What is your message you're trying to send? I don't agree with this being your main focus in season 2, because season 2 also, which pisses me off, has a great plot line of her in denial of having an ED and then fully starting to flesh out her having an ED. The first few episodes, she is shown binge eating, and binge eating in correlation with her feeling bad about herself. Her feeling guilty about just killing Christian, her feeling the pressure of looking perfect for the pageant, her just all of these negative emotions, so she binge eats. That is a theme that does occur throughout the season. At the beginning, Bob has many moments with her, which I adore, of him expressing concern.
Have you talked to anyone about this? I mean, like a therapist?
He expresses this concern, and she tells him, what are you talking about? I don't have an ED.
Eat it, and then you just eat everything else until you hate yourself enough to finally stop. Everyone goes through that.
She's in such denial. The first part of overcoming your problem is acknowledging you have a problem. And that's usually the hardest part with people, is acknowledging that you have an issue to deal with. And that is exactly what Patty is going through, is denial. I love that they showcase this in the first few episodes. She consistently does this. It gets to a point, very sadly, where she puts soap all over the food just to prove to Bob she won't eat it, but then she literally does eat it because she can't help herself. She then tells Bob that she threw up.
Did you eat them out of the trash? Oh.
And it is implied that it's not forceful, that she didn't forcefully do that. This plotline does continue and does flesh out a bit throughout the season, which I loved this plotline, and I do wish the show focused more on this and stayed more grounded like it did in season 1, where anytime Patty just does something bad, she would resort to, because that is what was happening. Like, it wouldn't be killing. It wouldn't be her binge eating because of killing. It would be because of her feeling bad about something she had done, like outing Bob. I do wish that this season kept true to that, and that it would just be her doing just shitty things to people. And then she could feel bad about herself, and then showcase that unfortunately she has that ED, and that's what she does when she feels bad about herself. Stay on the positive before going back to the negative of the killing plotline. They do a good job at the beginning showcasing this, and then her finally acknowledging that she has an issue once she eats a whole plate of donuts at the hospital. She's like, okay, yeah, I gotta stop. I have a problem. So she does go to a group, which is fantastic. Starts getting help. Actually, Nani's girlfriend is there and ends up being her sponsor for a little while. I do love it. I do love how they dive deeper into that, even though she just lost all that weight in season 1. Her problems didn't just magically solve themselves. She still has issues that she has to deal with. It doesn't just go away. So I am happy that the show dives into that and acknowledges that. Being skinny doesn't mean that she's not going to have this issue still. She still has the issue, so she needs to work through it and needs proper help and therapy. So I do love it. I do love that for the first half of the season, they have a good amount of time spent on it. Even have an episode and kind of carry this along for further episodes where she starts to over-exercise. So that's a thing too. Anything she eats, she immediately has to go to the gym. And she goes to the gym excessively for hours and hours on end, where it doesn't even matter what you ate at that point. Like, you're burning too many calories now at this point. Like, this is unhealthy. They showcase the dangers of over exercising and overdoing that she's not exercising in a healthy way. There were so many things in this show that I'll talk about it later. But I really love that they showcased that plot, because that is also definitely a thing. There isn't just one type of ED. Like, there are so many different types of EDs. Literally, by the end of the season, okay, when I told you she kills another person, Stella Rose, she prioritizes exercising and running on her treadmill over getting rid of a dead body. I'm laughing just because, like the absurdity of it, right? Because they did make it absurd. Like, for that situation, it's just absurd. It just goes to show how she needs help. She needs help. All of that plot line, diving deeper into her ED and getting the help and just different forms of EDs, I think was done really well for this season. However, as I said, it gets muddled with the killer plotline. It gets to a point where she starts binge eating because of her killing people. So that's the thing that I did hate. They were starting to attribute her binge eating to her killing, and it's like, just be a little more serious, TV show, please. Please just be a little more serious, because I know, again, there's so much wacky shit that goes on in this show. Like, it is very unserious for a lot of things that it shows and does, but this was one thing that I was wishing that they would take just a bit more seriously. And again, like, they do showcase that storyline well. However, that is the one issue I do have with that plotline, is that they start attributing it to her killing. And it's like, okay, well, can't relate to that. So that's the thing that I do wish they steered away from. I just really felt like that was just so unnecessary for this show. When I say that, I feel like they were going to double down on this plotline for season 3. It's unfortunately showcased in the finale, which, let me tell you a little something about the finale. So in the finale, okay, Patty has now killed a total of 6 people, and for unfortunate circumstances, she has to lug the most recent body that she's killed all the way to the pageant. So she does this, and then the body is missing. She freaks out because the body's missing while she's in the middle of doing her act or whatever. And then Bob comes in and is like, what is going on? Mom comes in, what is going on? Annie, her best friend, comes in, what is going on? And then Magnolia, who has had this whole plotline of forgetting what happened the night that she was kidnapped, because remember, she was kidnapped by Christian, but ends up escaping because Patty hits Christian and tells her to escape, but she ends up seeing Patty murder Christian, and because of trauma, because of her drinking, she ends up forgetting all of this for the whole season, but it now comes back to her. Donnie has found Christian's phone, which Patty has been using to make it look like he's still alive, even though he's not, and puts it together. Patty killed Christian. And so this is a big moment where her mom, Nani, her best friend, and her kind of friend, but not really friend, all find out that she's a killer. And what happens after this? What happens after this? She then gives her speech. What does it mean to be you, to be a true lady? And she pointedly makes these statements saying, oh, well, people are always saying to be yourself, but then once you show yourself, they don't really want to know who you are. And they judge you.
They have to smile pretty and hide every flaw and pretend to be someone you're not. Nobody really wants the truth. People don't want to know who you really are.
And at this point, I'm like, girl, you've killed people. What do you mean? She makes it as if it's their fault for judging her. For God's sake.
Be the most you can be. It's such bullshit.
Before going on the stage making the speech, she already starts talking to all of the people, her mom, her best friend, everyone, saying,
Look at you. Look at all of you. The way that you're looking at me now that you know the truth.
She already starts talking like that to them, and I'm like, girl, take some responsibility. It makes it like it's their issue. Like it's their fault for judging her.
Tell me you still love me. That's what I thought.
What? And she ends up winning. She ends up winning the pageant for this speech. And then Bob, from Circumstances, I won't even get into that plot, but he ends up going to jail instead of Patty. And then she visits him in jail and says that she's going to get him out and she's going to kill the person responsible. And then he's just like, oh, like, Patty, I feel like you are a killer. You enjoy it. And then she has flashbacks and realizes that, yes, she does enjoy killing. and then that's her moment. And then she leaves. And that's the season 2 finale. What is the message? What is the message again?
Maybe I wasn't a victim. I was empowered.
Okay, so embrace your killer self. And now that she's embracing her being a killer, she's winning and getting what she wants and feels better about herself. I don't know. Okay.
Maybe that's why I couldn't stop eating. Just pushing down the truth. Finally feel free.
Yay, she got rid of her ED by being a killer. Yay! That's where the show truly lost me, because I really do hope that if they were planning, I don't know how many seasons they were planning, but I do hope truly by the end they would have had Patty in jail and would have had her just be a messed up human and realize that she's a messed up human. I also feel like it actually would have just made a lot of sense, full circle moment for them to end on that, because it started with her on trial for the homeless guy, so it would have been really cool to end it with her on trial. I looked it up to see what they had planned for season 3, and the only thing the creator had to say was that it would be more of a reflection of Patty finding herself still, which that's what she's been kind of doing though. This whole killer plotline I found so unnecessary, so not needed, when you already have such solid grounds of her being a shit person and enough drama and entertainment with her being a shit person and doing these shitty things to people. That was already drama, entertaining, interesting enough as it was. Fortunately, yeah, it was canceled after this, so we'll never know what was the actual plan and what would have been the outcome. They really lost the plot, and they really lost what they were trying to say and the messaging of this show with adding in that killer plotline. It was lost. Overall, I would say it's a good show. I would say overall there are great parts to it that I would honestly say people should watch for their own understanding of EDs, and hopefully inspiring people to not have EDs, and if you do, to get the help needed. Because for me personally, okay, now we're gonna get a little personal. If you want to skip this, go ahead. I'm just gonna go into a bit of my own personal story, so if you just want to skip to the end of the video, all good. For me personally, a lot of this show did touch me because I myself have gone through my own struggles. I wouldn't say to the point of it being an ED, but I don't know if that's just an L. I will say, thankfully, I do have a better relationship with food and my body, which I am happy about. And thankfully, too, my friends and family have acknowledged this as well, which I am happy, hearing it for external sources, that I am healthier and being healthier with the way I eat and everything. But personally, for me, when I was younger, in my 20s, I was very restrictive of food. And I think they actually do mention this in the show. Food restrictor. And to be honest, if I'm being honest, I think that is the category that I would put myself in. for what I was going through in my early 20s. Basically, what I was doing was not allowing myself to eat carbs. I was only eating salads, ground beef, and eggs. And if I was going out with my friends, I would only eat the scrappings of their appetizers or order a salad appetizer for myself or something that, again, that was not, that did not have carbs. Yeah. And I would say probably on average I was having about maybe 600 to 700 calories a day. So, and I understand that feeling of just no matter how you look in the mirror and it still doesn't feel like enough. And even if it feels like enough, you feel the need to just keep it that way and not overeat and feel like, oh, if I have this carb, if I have this spaghetti, it's gonna affect me. I'm gonna gain weight and it's gonna affect me. So I can't eat that spaghetti today. I maybe can only have one bite, but that's it. It's a thing. I do understand. And I did have a very bad relationship with food and my body for a good chunk of my early 20s there. So for me personally, this show really hit home because I do see some things reflected of myself with that, also with the over-exercising bit. So the way they showcased all of those things in this show, it really did hit me. It did. And I did feel myself reflected in some parts of the show and felt like they showed exactly the experience of what it is. So, yeah, again, I'm very thankful that fortunately, eventually, I don't know how, but eventually I got to a mental check and had a mental switch eventually somewhere along the way and have just a much better relationship with. I do eat carbs now. I eat carbs on the daily now. I have pad thai every week. Definitely for myself, I would say I do appreciate this show for just existing and everything that it did showcase. And I do think overall that people should watch it just for those educational purposes. Let me know all of your thoughts. I know it was a very controversial show, and I don't know, maybe some of y'all still hate it. Maybe y'all really hate it. I don't know, but let me know all of your thoughts. Thank you all so much for watching. Until next time.